Welcome to Over and Out with Dawn News. I'm Sadi Raza here in Dallas, Texas. With me is Ahmed Khwaja in the United Arab Emirates. We'll review the T20 World Cup. So, three matches that we have to review today. Obviously, the second Group A match between Canada and Ireland, made more important because of Pakistan's loss to the US. And for the second day in a row, a North American associate team won out. So, I think Canada was pretty impressive in the way they beat Ireland. But I would also say that the way the Irish collapsed in the second innings was surprising. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the pitch was a bit tricky in the second innings. It slowed up, it dried up a lot, and it was really playing into the hands of the Canadian bowlers. But full credit to Saad bin Zafar and his troops. Their game plan to attack the Irish batters was very, very good. They were just bowling that hard length with the fast bowlers, and the spinners were just keeping it wicket to wicket and using that hint of turn. I think Saad bin Zafar and Junaid Siddiqui, he was a great pick, the leggy. He was just pulling it quicker in the air, targeting the stumps, and he caused a lot of havoc for the Irish batters. Unfortunately, they all look completely out of nick. Paul Sterling in particular has had a poor tournament, and Andy Balbirnie hasn't quite going as well. And when they lost them early, it was a slow power play. They just couldn't get any momentum. They were going at about 5-6 runs per over. There was a hint that hang on, the Canadians are right in this. And then when Saad bin Zafar brought on Junaid Siddiqui, that tandem of those two spinners really changed the game.
And again, for the second day in a row, the North American fielding was excellent. The Canadians had a blinder of a catch, just as yesterday the Americans took a fantastic catch. And I think you can see that these associate teams are really working hard on the fundamentals.
Absolutely, it's all about the discipline, isn't it, Sadi? That the basics they do, that the controllables that they have in their hand, they have done that exceedingly well. They may not have all the talent in the world, but they work hard in the field. They hold their catches. They keep a lid on the extras, and on these difficult pitches, that really helps equalize the talent dearth that might be between the two sides. We saw that in USA versus Pakistan, and we saw that today in Canada versus Ireland as well.
The other thing it showed was that we've all talked about how important the toss is on that New York strip. Just because you win the toss and bowl first doesn't mean that chase is going to be easy, especially if you lose early wickets or get bogged down.
We've seen tough chases throughout the World Cup. We saw West Indies were struggling. We saw that even India didn't have it all their way, even though Rohit Sharma made a gritty 50. Even they struggled a touch. Viratkohli could not get the hang of that New York pitch at all and got out early. And we saw how USA toiled against Pakistan as well. We saw how even the Netherlands toiled against Nepal. And it was very much the case here. They just had a little more cushion with runs on the board. I think 140, 150 would have been safe. They fell a touch short of it. But the bowling and fielding from the Canadians was absolutely outstanding.
I think if you even out the associate thing, I think a par score on that New York pitch first innings is probably mid 160s into the 170. I think that becomes a very challenging score to chase.
I think that would be an almost impossible score to chase, because now that the swing and seam has died out, now that ball is turning and we've still got that variable bounce, that kick off a good length, that troubled Nicholas Curtin with the bat when he was in the middle for the Canadians, and the Irish, all of the batters, they were all at sea against the variable bounce. We saw a lot of under edges, a lot of top edges coming in, and they were 59 for 6 at one stage till George Dockrell and Mark Adair gave them a chance.
The other two matches to talk about very briefly is Australia got their campaign off to a start. They beat Oman. Warner with a half century was slow, but then Marcus Stoinis, of course, 67 of 35. He's such an X factor. And of course, tomorrow they play England in Ashes is Test, but no, let's call it the T20 Ashes. And of course, then Scotland, in a second consecutive impressive performance. Their game with England was rained out, but they beat Namibia. Both matches were at Bridgetown.
Absolutely, Scotland have been super impressive in this World Cup, and of course, now that they've got that edge with 3 points on the points table for them, and if Australia beat England, then I think England will be in a serious spot of bother here, and then they'll be looking up against it. But it's a must-win game, like you mentioned, coming up tomorrow. Australia versus England. I do feel England have the edge in the T20 department in terms of all their boxes checked. They've got the hard-hitting top 7. They've got the all-rounders. They've got the pace bowling as well to trouble the Aussies. The Aussies looking a bit undercooked in this World Cup so far. They were 62 for 3 in 12 overs until Marcus Stoinis went absolutely berserk against Oman. And then, of course, that score of 160 was always going to be too much for the Omanis to handle. But they have looked a little vulnerable here, the Aussies. And Glenn Maxwell, his shoddy form has continued, struggled in the IPL and gone for a golden duck versus Oman as well.
No, it should be a great game tomorrow. And the one other thing with England, though, even if they lose, they have such a team that they can sort of overcome any net run rate deficit in the last couple of games if they need to. We'll do it all over again tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining us.